All right, joining us this morning is Jawanza Williams, the director of organizing for Vocal New York, which has been calling on the city to defund the NYPD. Jawanza, I know you're down at the encampment. Good morning. Thanks for being with us. You wanted $1 billion in budget cuts. You got $1 billion in budget cuts. But as we just heard, a lot of folks saying that's not enough.
Yes, absolutely. The reality is that we've been facing this sort of gaslighting from the mayor's office, from the administration, and from the council for trying to make us believe that we had actually defunded the NYPD by $1 billion. We are sure that we are trying to implicate the fact that policing itself is problematic, that we don't want to see a reallocation of funding to fund some kind of especially in DOE or in schools, we don't want our children to be policed. We want to see legitimate defunding of the police. We want to see funding of housing, healthcare, education, and social services. Last year in New York City, 100,000 students went through the shelter system in this city. People cannot learn, children cannot learn effectively whenever they're living in squalid conditions or whenever they're not stably housed. And whenever Black children are in these kinds of conditions, the police are often the ones called to deal with their behaviors that are associated to the traumas of being homeless, traumas of economic insecurity, and traumas of racism in this city. So I think that the mayor has tried to gaslight all of us and make us believe that he met our demands, but at the end of the day, he's indicated that he doesn't actually understand what people are calling for, because if he did, then he would have legitimately defunded the NYPD.
Well, it sounds like, Jawanza, you are echoing something that Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez really said yesterday in a statement. She put out a statement saying defunding the police means defunding the police. It does not mean budget tricks or funny math. And she was talking exactly about what you were talking about, counting overtime as cuts, also moving school police from the NYPD budget to the Department of Education budget. But at the same time, let me ask you this. We heard from Councilman Jimmy Van Bramer. He was talking about additional measures that could have been taken to cut the NYPD budget, like less uniformed officers. However, there's been a recent rise in crimes across the city. So how do you balance that?
I think we have to understand that we are in an economic crisis. And if you understand crime at its absolute root, you understand that poverty is implicated. You understand how racism plays into that. This is not an issue of not having enough police. This is an issue of not having stable housing. This is an issue of not having, for instance, even rents right now. Rent crisis is looming. We need the city and the state to cancel the rent for all the people that have not been able to pay the rent since the COVID-19 crisis. So if crime is going up, it's because of the anxieties of the time that we're in, of the anxieties of police killing Black people all across this country and across this city. And then also couple that with the fact that we have a global pandemic that has significantly changed our lives, and many of us are out of work. And when you understand poverty, you understand that crime will go up because people are desperate and they're doing things and behaviors oftentimes that are only reflecting their quality of life. So if we actually want to see a reduction in crime, then we need to actually fund the things that people actually need. And that's housing, education, comprehensive health care, including mental health care, and also substance use treatments, from a harm reduction perspective, evidence-based treatments that treat people that use drugs like human beings. So we were asking for the mayor to defund the NYPD by at least $1 billion, if not just totally abolish the institution in the city, and actually fund the kinds of initiatives that communities have called for years. Like, we know how to stop crime in our communities. We know how to stop violence in our communities. And
well, let me ask you this, Jawanza. You make some really valid points, but at the same time, tension is very high between protesters and police. We've seen standoffs, clashes. We saw them early yesterday. We saw some today. Is that taking away from your message here?
Absolutely not. I think it shows us that the police are not interested in the democratic powers of the people. The police are here to protect the institutions of the elite, the capitalists of our society. The rich people in this city, the police work for them. The police do not work for us. And, the reality is that we are engaged in direct democracy. Voting is one avenue of engaging in democracy, but taking up public space and speaking the truth to power, making our demands clear, is also a part of the democratic process.
Well, I have to address that very quickly, because you want to talk about speaking the truth. We've had several journalists, in fact, one of our own, saying that she was covering the protest and protesters, in fact, were attacking the photographer, pushed him down the ground, broke his glasses. She was yelled at in her face while she was trying to go live. So how do you respond to that?
That exactly makes the case for the need for social services. That man, I actually was here to see that incident happen. The man was clearly dealing with extreme mental health complexities, and we don't have the kind of infrastructure in the city to actually address these kinds of issues. The police are not mental health professionals. They could not help that man. And the people around us here who understand trauma-informed care, we approached that person and we helped him understand like what was happening and get him out of that situation where his anxieties could be reduced. We have to really radically reimagine how we're going to build and maintain safety. I understand that what happened was not okay, but it shows us that it's incredibly important that we prioritize funding
All
the
right,
kinds of
Jawanza,
mental health services that we actually need.
Thank you so much for talking. I'm sorry, we are absolutely out of time. You make some very valid points there. It's very clear to us that the fight is far from over. Thank you for taking some time to join us today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure.